There are a number of defining features of the school, but I think the thing that people notice first is its location. It's not in town. It is really in a farmer's field in a sense. I mean, there's forest around, so it's not actually a farmer's field, but it isn't in town. It's between towns. And so every student that goes there is bused there. It's a transportation school. And there are reasons for that. It didn't start there. It started in Elora. But the school is where it is because of the catchment area that it wants to address. So it includes Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, Guelph, and the surrounding communities. And so you get these kids coming there from away every day. And that's different. I think there aren't a lot of schools that are quite like that. But it works for SJK, you know. You really, when you get there, you get a sense that you've really arrived to someplace special. And when you're there, you're there. And you really dedicate and focus yourself to that. It's an island in a way. It's an island within all these other communities that surround it. So it interacts with those. But when the kids are there during the day, they're on this beautiful little island. I think it's interesting the way they present it at St. John's Kilmarnock. It's like, again, people think of the IB as this thing for elite students and for, you know, students who need a challenge. And at SJK, that's really not their approach. They see it as a way of learning intended for all students. And so I think something that makes the school unique is that they do have students on IEPs. They do have students with certain learning challenges that maybe you wouldn't expect to see. Unfortunately, you probably wouldn't expect to see in other IB settings. But in this setting, they do. They have lots of supports, and they will accept students who have various learning challenges. And then the students, obviously, they thrive when they're there because they have those supports, but they also have those opportunities to follow their creativity and their curiosities and all that. I think, you know, if you asked anybody, and if you do, and you'll get all sorts of, you say, what does success mean to you? If you went through the school and you asked all the teachers, what does success mean to you? And they'd say all different things. That at SJK, I don't know if they'd say it first, but just in my experience of talking to them and my sense of what they value most about the school, I think they would like to say that the kids here had real relationships with each other. They really got to know each other. The school is such a size that they really get to know everybody sort of within the school. They really got to know their teachers. They got to experience interesting things. And but again, coming back to that idea of relationships, that this is your springboard to the rest of your life. You're going to gain that confidence through the relationships that you have, and that's what's going to make you successful in life. Cheryl Boughton is the current head of school, and she's got a lot of experience. She's taught in the UK, I believe, and at other schools and other private schools in Canada. And so she came with a lot of experience, and she's a really great person to talk to. Again, she knows a lot, she's seen a lot, and has a lot to bring to the school. But when you ask her about what does success mean, what do you hope for these kids, she talks about growth. She says, I see this as a greenhouse. And so that's what the ultimate goal is, growth. And again, SJK has maybe a broader array of students than some schools do in terms of academic ability. This is not a school just for the kids achieving at the very top. They admit students through the whole range of learner. And so, but success for all of them, I think Cheryl would say, is the same, is have they grown? How have they grown? Have they grown into the best version of themselves? The question for her is, what sets your heart on fire? What really gets you going? And so teachers, that's how they still, it's not about, you better get a good mark on this test. It's more like, I know what this kid is interested in. What can I do to really fire them up? How can I really get them moving? And doing that from their perspective rather than some other perspective. I think the school really leads with its values. It does have a history of being associated with the Anglican Church, and that is still apparent. Obviously, there's students that you don't have to be Anglican to go, and there are no church services or anything. But that kind of history and the fact that there is a chapel on campus, it's where the students meet for their assemblies and such. It really gives that's where the values come from. It's the values of charity and kindness and empathy and all those things come out of that history, and the way that those values are still expressed through events in the chapel. The school, when it was dedicated by a bishop and also Lincoln Alexander. And he was the lieutenant governor at the time. And I think if I had to personify the school or think of it as a person, I think that's who it would be. Just an incredibly empathetic individual, such a kind person. And just one of those people that you just respected, because he was respectable, but he could be funny. And I think that's sort of what the school is. It has these values, and they're very clear, and you know what they are, and the kids want to emulate those things. I think that's the other thing about Lincoln Alexander, is that people just wanted to be like him, and I think that's one of the great strengths of the school. I think the kids go there and they think, I want to be like this. I want to be active, and I want to be curious, and respectful and empathetic. The athletic program is very important, and certainly when you arrive on campus, that's one of the first things you see. They've got great facilities, a lot of outdoor areas, the fields, etc. And it's expected that kids are going to be physically active, and I don't think it's something that they have to work all that hard to ensure. I think that's just part of the culture of the school, is that you're going to be active. And when you arrive in the morning or in the evening or something, you'll see people out being active. It's very present. It's not sort of hyped off. It's very much a part of the daily experience. You're always seeing people doing physical activity. And so the participation rate is very high. It's, I think, above 90%. So it's important for all the reasons that it should be important. It's setting up an active lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle, really foregrounding that, which is something that's true of the food service program there as well. That the kind of healthy eating is really very foregrounded in the food service program. But also competition. They do very well in competitive sports, and the kids benefit from that as well, given all the lessons that they can learn from it: resiliency and bouncing back and teamwork and those things. So it is a very active school. It does feel like a school where athletics is very central to the student experience. It's a school that leads by example. So, kids are encouraged to be active because they know that their teachers are, and they see their teachers being active. The teachers are the ones that are doing the coaching as well, but they're also participating in the other things. Delightfully, there's this pond on campus. That's another thing that you see when you first arrive, and a lot of it's kind of centered to the school in some kind of really great ways. One of the things they do, I don't know what grade it's in, but at some point in every kid's student experience, it might be grade 9, but some grade that they do this overnighter where the kids come and they spend a night camping out next to this pond, and they do pond studies there, and there's kayaks and canoes, and it's right there, So in that sense, it's like an outdoor ed school in a way that you can't avoid it. It's just right there. And then on graduation, the graduates jump into the pond as well. And I think it's nice. I think that's what it is. It's about just having things there, and when you're ready, you can go for it. And you see other people doing it, and that'll encourage you to do that as well. I think one of the things they have in common is that they don't have anything in common on some level. I mean, they all come from different communities. So what they have in common actually is a posture to be academic, but the school. That's what they have in common. That's the thing that they share, which is great. They come from, again, they're bussed in every day, so they come from all around. And so maybe their home lives are quite different. And indeed they are. I mean, they have students, University of Guelph is close by, Waterloo is fairly close by. So there are students that come from families who are involved in those sorts of settings. But there's also students that come from farming families. There's lots of farming families around. And so they all have different histories and different and they come from different places. And the thing that they share is the school itself, which is actually kind of nice. I think it's just they're very comfortable with each other. And one of the things that I like about it that maybe some of the students don't necessarily like initially is that the cafeteria is a no technology zone. And the entire school, the entire student body has lunch at the same time. It's this beautiful big space with lots of glass, and they enforce that. So, and I think that's really wonderful. It's the only time I've seen this. Maybe it happens at other schools, I don't know, but it's the only example that I've seen. So you have the kids come in, and one of the teachers said they actually talk to each other. I think that's so great, and they do. And, you know, they come in here, and I think the kids, maybe they initially think I'd rather be on my phone if they're new to the school, but very quickly see that this is a pretty great time of day. And it's the time of day when the entire student body is together, and they're all actually talking to each other. And it's really nice. It's really hard to think of what student wouldn't be the right student. I think there are students for which this program would be challenging, but the fact is the school also then has people in place as supports for kids who find it challenging, and so they can address that as well. It really is a great place for a very broad range of learner. I think the school wants to make sure that all the kids are challenged, but I think they also want the students to really have had the opportunity to follow their interests and to end up at a point when they leave that they have a really good sense of where they want to go with these interests. And so they have lots of creative and exciting ways of allowing kids to explore their interests. There's a lot of partnerships with groups off campus, you know, and it's really stunning some of the things that the kids get involved in, you know. I remember them telling me about, they went to, some students were studying something, and they spent some time in a brain injury clinic or something, you know, like they're willing to really do that. If we're studying about this, then let's go out and see it. You know, if we're doing art, let's go out and do art in the world, to follow their curiosity and then really take it out into the world and see how it feels there. I mean, there's all sorts of delightful people who work there, and I think one of the people that I really enjoyed talking to is Anne Beveridge. She's head of the lower school, and she talked about how it's important to think conceptually about the world, and again, the IB is a great means of doing that. It kind of is set up to think about the bigger issues, to think of the concepts and whatever. I think what they find appealing about it is some people might find the international perspective of it sort of appealing, and I don't know that that's the first point of contact for SJK. I think for them that's important, but it's also getting kids working together, working on projects together, and really deciding that this is the project I want to work on, and I'm going to do it, no matter what that is. And that's one of the great things about the IB, is that it's not like it's grade 6, we're studying erosion. You know, it's like, instead, it's like, we're doing this, you're going to do an exhibition at the end of whatever, you're going to have to do this. These are the projects. What project are you going to do? What do you want to work on? And then they attach the curriculum to those projects. And it is amazing the diversity of the things that the kids get involved in. And I was there one day when they're getting ready for the exhibition, these grade 6s, and one of the kids was there practicing guitar, and he's playing heavy metal guitar. And I don't think this is one of the things that people think about when they think about IB. Oh, my kid can go really drill down on his interest for heavy metal guitar. But isn't it great that you can? Isn't it great that you do? And I think the teachers really encourage that. If that's what you're interested in, go for it. And isn't that a great way to learn? And I think that's exactly what the school really likes about it, because that's what they bring forward. That idea to take all these different interests, and they have the time and the space to really work with them. Again, to take them out into the world, but also to drill down in certain ways, always knowing that they're meeting the curricular outcomes that they want to meet. This feature review has been published as a book, and it's also available online at ourkids.net.